Darrell has built out two of the largest vehicle buying centers in the country with SmartWolf Consulting. And Darrell, I'm going to turn it over to you. The data that David had, it's hard to ignore. And if you do, you just hate money. And the second was Glenn Lundy's two rules, which he institutes in his 800% of just how simple it is when you decide to make a choice.
Brilliant.
But when I got up there, I mean, the big, for me, which, I really wanted to illustrate to dealers, we're in the all things used cars. So this obviously pertains to David Long because he knows this. Since 2010, as a used car director, I have been doing buying centers. And David was doing them back at the same time. We're in 2024. So we're talking 14 years later. 14 years in the auto industry, and acquisition now is starting is not even a main focus. It's starting to become a focus. And I thought that was interesting because acquisition, when you see the data and you see everything else, is there's no stone you can unturn that shows that buying cars at the auction is better. And so the big thing that I really wanted to emphasize is I talk to general managers and GSMs and owners, and they all say, well, we need to make more money. We need to sell more cars. And I find that oddly funny every single time I hear it, because when it comes to I want to make more profit, the very first thing that I hear from used car managers and GMs is, where do you get your cars? The auction. Well, Manheim and Odessa, thank you, because you are helping them create more profit for their departments at the cost of your own. Because auctions, I think Manheim just released it. It was $1,165 was the average cost, including transport for a vehicle. Odessa's was just a little bit smaller than that. And so every time you buy a car, we won't even get into what you pay. You're $1,100 behind the eight ball. And you ask yourself, what if you could reduce that by half or 60% and pay people inside and control your own income? And it's a simple answer. Oh, I definitely want to do that. Right up until you show them what it takes. Because it's not easy. Buying centers and private party acquisition might be arguably the hardest job in the dealership. But I attest that that is how you make profit. The easy button, renamed a couple years ago the COVID button, that doesn't exist. If you want to make profit and you want to make it all the time and you want to make lots of it, it does take work. And so with acquisition, you actually get to do all the things that dealers and GMs and owners say they want to do. You get to control the outcome. You get to dictate where your money's spent. You get to make more profit, and you get to generate an internal economy in your store that creates more jobs and more effectiveness. And so my challenge was to dealers with buying centers is, where are you acquiring cars? And when you hear the term buying center, it shouldn't be, oh, that's just private party action. A buying center is, you guys saw the wheel. It's in the recap that Brian did, which is something that David Long created a long time ago. I found it very impactful. But there are 8 places you can get cars. That is a buying center, a strategy, right? A buying center is really just the new strategy of how you acquire cars. And then when you're doing that, where's your focus, right? Now you look at that circle and you're like, oh, it's not even parts. I would attest that auctions should be less than 5%. It'd be a sliver of the pie. Private party would take up 50 to 75% of that pie. And then you would divvy up the other things depending on your store. But then it's the experience, right? The other slide that Brian put in the recap is the people. Never being fast to hire them. Find the right people. Find the people that are going to do this, that like that challenge, that when they hear no, it really is one of those things they go like this, man, I'm so close to a yes. Process. Anyone that talks to me will hear this phrase every single time. Processes are not guidelines. Processes are black and white. There is no gray. They have to be followed every single time, the same exact way, every single day. The dealers that say, oh, yeah, we have a process. Well, there's 2 things that everyone should ask themselves. And I just did this on a call for a dealer. Hey, can you guys go ahead and print it up and show it to me? And when they can't, they don't have a process. 2, ask a couple people in your store what the process is to sell a car, do finance on a car, buy a car. And the moment you get 2 different answers, you don't have a process. So process is important because that's how you get consistency. Third, which is really important, is your pay plans. Pay plans are the guide to where you want the focus. I want to do volume. It's got to be a volume focused pay plan. I want to make more gross, or I want turn. There's got to be components Because even the salespeople that you think maybe aren't as smart or as fast or as quick, oddly enough, they all figure out how to work their pay plan. So if you want to generate the results you want, make the pay plan generate the results you want. Because it really hasn't changed. It's just now we should be putting focus. I'll finish with two things. Number one, if acquisition is not a more important strategy than selling cars, you're already behind. You can't sell from empty shelves. If you don't have the cars, how are you growing your business? How are you maintaining your business? And number two, when it comes to acquisition, private party, things of that nature, do you have an experience, a consumer experience, a store experience that is better than your competition out there that people want to come to? For instance, why would I come to you and not go to CarMax?
Thank you, Darrell.